What hath Athens to do with Jerusalem? Do you know who uttered this famous quote? More importantly, do you know what this quote means? I'm going to explain what this quote means and how it relates to Christianity and American public education today in this edition of the Alex McFarland Show. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome to the program. Alex McFarland here. We've got a great show. We're going to be talking about American education, secular education exactly, and what it's doing to the country, what really I fear it's doing to the souls of millions of young people. We've got a great interview in a few moments with Sam Sorbo, wife of Kevin Sorbo, who she's got a great new film out that she's promoting called Truth and Lies in American Education. But let me unpack that quote and why I bring that quote to the table in our show opening. What hath Athens to do with Jerusalem? That was uttered by an early Christian apologist from Africa, Tertullian. Now, Tertullian lived 160 to 225 AD. That means Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. Of course, school kids today would never know that for 2,000 years of Western civilization, we use the nomenclature BC and AD. Before Christ, then there was the life of Jesus, then AD, everything since Christ came, Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. Now, as you probably know, about 20, 25 years ago, they began to subtly, incrementally put in BCE and CE, before the Common Era, and then CE, Common Era. Now still, even the most ardent secularist, every January 1st when they flip the calendar, they're tacitly acknowledging the life and existence of Jesus Christ. We still globally set the calendar for the life of Jesus Christ. But the expunging of BC and AD from books and publications is just one of the many ways that the world, and specifically American public education, has done its utmost to push God out of the way. Now, in Proverbs 22, verse 6, it says, "Train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it." People ask the question, why are there shootings? Why is there lawlessness? Why is there just an exploding illegitimacy rate, promiscuity, STDs, moral ambiguity, gender confusion, now calls for the abolition of the Electoral College and just the abolition of the U.S. Constitution? Why are we watching? Why are we seeing the society just unravel before our very eyes? Because for a quarter century plus, we have told millions of public school children there is no God, there is no moral truth, there is no judge that we will one day give an account to. We are our own God, we make our own truth, we create our own reality. And finally, it's bearing fruit, a very dark, unholy fruit, a very sad thing. It jeopardizes the future of our country. Now, Tertullian has a message today. 1,800 years after he lived, Tertullian has a warning for Christian parents. I get literally hundreds of pieces of correspondence every month from parents who say, "I don't know why my child is now an atheist." Look, because you that represent Jerusalem are sending your kids to Athens, representing secularism, to be educated. What concord hath Athens with Jerusalem? Really not much at all. And I respect learning. I've given my adult life to academics. But let me say, moms and dads, you're raising your kids to love the Lord, hopefully, but you send them to K through 12 public school, then secular state college to be disconverted. We have got to take back the education of our children. Now, when we come back, we'll have a conversation with Sam Sorbo to talk about that. The mind of our children, because that relates to the soul of our children and the future of our country. Stay tuned. We're back after this. Have you ever wanted to raise your hand during a sermon? Well, here's your chance. Hi, Alex McFarland here from the nationally syndicated radio program Exploring the Word. For more than 10 years, my co-host Bert Harper and I have taught Scripture and answered hundreds of Bible questions. We've compiled a brand new book of the top 100 Bible questions from listeners of all ages, from questions about supposed Bible contradictions to apologetics facts that prove the truths of Scripture. This new book features practical content that will make the Bible come alive for you.
Can we really be sure that God exists?
Are there contradictions in the Bible?
I need a book that will help me understand the Bible better.
There's so much good content in this book.
100 Bible Questions and Answers, published by Broad Street Publishers and available online at your local bookstores and also through afastore.net. Welcome back to the program. You know, when talking about the state of American public school education, really there are few spokespersons as good as we could have as the one we've got right now, who is Sam Sorbo. Sam Sorbo is a spokesperson for a couple of things I want to make you aware of. One, U.S. Pie, and I'll tell you what that is. Not blueberry or apple, but something very important, U.S. Pie, but also a documentary, Truth and Lies in American Education. Very important that you see this documentary. And so to talk about these things and more, Sam Sorbo. Sam, thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. We're talking about something that is so crucial to the continuation of the United States as the nation that we know and love. And so this is something that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, well, indeed. And before we go too much farther, tell us the acronym US Pie. Tell us about this organization, if you would.
So it's US Pie is United States Parents Involved in Education. You can go to uspie.org. They're always looking for support. They're always looking to expand. And they are in several states across the United States. The thing that I'm here to speak about today is a documentary that they've produced called Truth and Lies in American Education. And the reason that you want to see this film is because once you see this film, you will understand why our education is the way that it is today and how unbiblical it is. And if you read the Bible and the Bible is important to you, that should interest you, because we've been duped. We've had the family stolen from the culture by our school system, and it's not proper. It's devastating to the family and to the children. And that's why we see the degradation in our schools that we see today that has become so obvious thanks to COVID.
Yeah. Oh, well, so many people, I think they don't realize that America was founded on biblical principles. America was founded on moral truth. And secular education, it just ignores at best and undermines and just denigrates these things at worst. And I think moms and dads, they don't realize that the kids, they're going to K through 12 public school and they're getting programmed to be compliant little secularists. And I want to thank you for making parents aware of what public education is really doing to their kids.
Yeah, so we're under the misapprehension, because we all went to public school, right? That you can have a school that is non-religious. And so we call them secular. But secularism is just another religion. They might not worship God, the God of Abraham, or even the God of Muhammad, but they do worship a God. That God tends to be themselves. It is a jealous God, which is why during COVID, you were not allowed to go to church because they didn't want you worshiping the God of Abraham. And so the point is, we went to school, we were taught certain things about education that are dead wrong. And unfortunately, it's very difficult to go back and impeach everything that you grew up with, because it's ingrained in you to a certain degree. So K through 12, you were taught college prep and career readiness. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take that for itself, and that is the future, that's what the school purports to be most interested in. That's their metric, college prep and career readiness, okay? First of all, let's dismantle that a little bit. So college prep, or let's take career readiness. Career readiness would mean that when you graduate college, because it's college prep and then career readiness, right? When you graduate college, you would be ready for a career. And it's not just a job. It means a career, a whole trajectory. You're set for life. This is going to be your calling, and this is what you're going to do. But what we're finding, the results belie the bait and switch that's happened. So we have children graduating from college who can't hold jobs, much less have careers. They changed careers 5 times before they're 25. They don't know what they're doing. So the whole career readiness is a lie. Then we go back to, well, what's college prep? Well, college prep is simply 13 years of convincing the child and the parents that they need to go spend a ton of money for this thing that they're not actually going to get, career readiness. So that's a Ponzi scheme. But let's leave that aside. Let's just look at what college prep and career readiness does to the psychological development and the emotional development of the child. And by the child, I mean the parents of today, because we all went through it. I went through it.
Yeah,
I believed that if I could go make a ton of money, I would be happy, because success equals money. That's what career readiness is. That's why we go to college. We go to college not to learn. We go to college to get a good job. And what is a good job? A good job is money, more money than a bad job, more money than a lesser job. So if it's all about the money, honey, then that's my self-worth. My self-worth is tied intrinsically to the amount of money I can earn. That's anti-biblical. It's anti-God, actually. It's anti-child. And unfortunately, this is what we've been steeped in. This is why Christians still will submit their children to the government school where the children learn to worship government instead of Christ. Mm-hmm. This is why they do it, because they've been convinced for 13 years to go on this trajectory.
You know, Sam, parenthetically, let me insert this. Literally every week of the year, I counsel with families that they'll say, and I get these emails and these calls by the hundreds, literally. They'll say, I don't understand it. We're a church-going family. My kid went to youth group, and now they've just graduated from the state university, and they're an agnostic, or they're transgender, or they completely reject the Bible and Jesus Christ. And I'll say, well, tell me about their schooling. Well, K through 12 public school, secular college. One father, he was just enraged, and he came to me, and his son, who formerly was the head of the youth group at the church, is now an atheist. This father said to me, he said, I paid the state college 4 years and over $100,000 to turn my son into an atheist. But I think, like you were saying, moms and dads, that they might check all the boxes, you know, God, church, family, but the education they subject their kids to really turns them into very often militant secularists, and moms and dads need to be aware of this.
So let's talk about that word education then.
Yeah. What
is education? We're taught that it's the 3 R's. We're taught by the educators, right? And I put that in air quotes because I'm enraged at the system, right? So we're taught that education is the 3 R's. Now, let's just take a look at this. The Bible is the best history textbook that we have, but the secular school, the government schools, ignore the Bible. How much education is really happening if they're willing to ignore the very best text that we have for ancient history? Yeah. And current history. And, you know, they're trying to change AD, they're trying to change it to CE, Common Era.
Oh, well, exactly.
What makes it common? Christ.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get away from it. He invented time. It's like literally invented the timeline. So we have a whole system of quote unquote education that is anti-education. It is not educating. It is actually uneducating your child. This This is why, and so we really need to impeach everything that we think we know, because we went to the government schools to learn how to worship government. And there might be a part of us that says, oh, but I believe the Bible. If you believe the Bible's very clear. It never once says, put your children in school, find a good school for your child. Not once. It very firmly seats the responsibility for the actual education of the child. And the actual education is actually the totality of teaching the child to become an adult, which, by the way, the schools aren't doing. They're doing maybe some academics, barely. They're doing certainly discipleship into secularism and wokeism and Marxism and atheism and all the other isms, right? They're doing that. And what's happened is the Christian family has completely abdicated its responsibility. Unknowingly, they think that they're doing the right thing. I sent my child to school. I paid $100,000 tuition for an education, but you didn't really look at what that education was. And that's my mission. It's the mission of this film, is to get you to reconsider what you think education is. You think a child is educated when they can do math problems. That's not education. I would say academics might be 30% of education. What that child learned from you is disdain from the Bible, because you sent him to a school that disdained the Bible.
Yeah. Folks, if you're just tuning in, we're talking with Sam Sorbo about the new film, Truth and Lies in American Education. Sam, where can people see the film?
Oh my gosh, everywhere. Go to uspie.org to find all the links. But it is available. It's available also on their website by DVD. And so it's pretty easy to find. You can look up Truth and Lies in American Education if you want. That's also a fast way to see it. Truth and Lies will get you there, I think, too. So it's available. It's a really good film. I don't say that because I'm in it, but I am.
Yeah. Congratulations.
But what's great is April Few, who is the daughter-in-law of the founder of US Pie, decided to do this documentary because her mother was so strangely insistent that she not enroll her intro child, right, at the time, that she not consider enrolling her child in public school. And so April was like, why is she so insistent? Really, what could possibly go wrong? This is pre-COVID, mind you. Nowadays, parents are like, oh my gosh, it's all wrong. That's all wrong, right? Mm-hmm. But back then, she was like, but why? So this is what I want people to understand. The degradation that we see in our schools today is a direct response. It's a direct development from everything that came before. Don't be thinking that, well, in the 50s, school was so much better. I'm not arguing that school was better, but it was still bad because it produced this that we have today. Yeah. So it purported to educate people who are now running the schools. Mm-hmm. Those people, right? So it didn't teach morality. It ignored morality. Well, what are you going to get when you ignore morality? You're going to get immorality. That's what you're going to get.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't be surprised.
You know what? I would encourage churches to show this film and listen. I know we have a lot of pastors that watch this program. We have hundreds of thousands of kind of activist level citizens. This is a film you need to know about because, yes, I mean, there's preaching the Bible and evangelizing people, talking about Jesus Christ. We need to do all those things. But one of the key, and Sam, I applaud you so strongly because, you know, regarding culture and worldview, I've been around the block and back. One of the problems that is destroying our nation and the souls of people is the content of public education. So this film, in the strongest possible terms, I urge people to be familiar with this film and see it and make others aware. So give us the website again, if you would, Sam.
Yeah, actually, I'll give you the film's website. It's truthandliesfilm.us. So you can find the film there. But I do urge people to go to uspie.org to support the organization and everything that they're doing. They're trying to shed some light for people. What I do and if you want to go to samsorbo.com and see a little bit more about what I do, is I empower parents to take over the education of their children. And what I want to say to that is the educators have convinced you that you can't do it. They've convinced you of so much that you can't do. In fact, we are all so school injured in our culture today that we think we can't do, even though we've proven to ourselves time and time again that we can. And ask anybody if they do for a living what they actually were trained in school to do. And most people, I would say 90% of people don't. They made it up as they went along and they figured it out, right? And so when it comes to the education of your children, you really should be focusing more on discipleship. That's what I teach on. This is what I coach people on, how to disciple their children, how to rethink the way that they think about education. And I have lots of resources for parents, not the least of which is my playbook for home learning, which is a 15 video series to help people rethink the way that they think about education, to set them free, because our school system is a system of enslavement. And if you don't believe me and you still send your children to school, you got to ask yourself why. Why are you sending your children into that system? Because you feel so incapable of doing it yourself, but you're willing to send them into the same system that turned out the likes of you.
Yeah. And you know what, Sam, I would agree. Alyssa, let me humbly say that what I know, not just data, but wisdom and truth, I can tell you I did not learn it in my K through 12 public school or my
Yep.
4-year undergrad at a public university. I learned it in my own study and in a Christian university.
Oh, I do want to say, home educating your children is so much easier than you ever imagined. But here's the key. It's so much rewarding than you ever dreamed. And once you get into it, you start to really resent that the system was going to steal that from you, was going to rob you of the tremendous joy that it is to educate your children at home. It's all upside down. And they've convinced us of all the wrong things. It's full of lies. That's why it's called Truth and Lies in American Education. Go to truthandliesfilm.us.
Sam Sorbo, thank you for being with us in this interview today, but even more importantly, thank you for what you're doing to improve the lives of people throughout our country.
Thank you so much for having me.
God bless you. Folks, stay tuned. We're going to come back right after this.
I just returned from a conference at the Cove, and it was absolutely breathtaking in every way. The mountain views, the tranquil areas within the woods, and just being alone with God. Mornings spent watching the sunrise from a rocking chair with coffee in one hand and my Bible in the other. Evenings spent reflecting on the incredible spiritual teaching. It's the embodiment of peacefulness. Come and experience the Cove for yourself.
You know, we talk a lot about stewardship, how really time and influence and our skills and abilities are matters of stewardship. And I honestly believe one of the most significant areas of stewardship for parents are the minds of their children. Now, ultimately, every human has free will. Every human has to make their own decision regarding accepting Jesus, a work ethic, a career path, and all of those things. But moms and dads, when Proverbs 22 verse 6 says that you are to train up a child in the way they should go, I mean, it relates to the educational choices that you make as a family. Because public schooling, I know I've spoken at 200 American universities, dozens of high schools. I was just in a public high school to give an assembly. And I mean, nowadays in a public school, you just don't ever see an American flag. Oh my word, you don't see the 10 Commandments or something like that. And so when you are sending your kids to Athens, shall we say, to be educated, you're training up your child in the way they shouldn't go. Listen, it's not just as John Dewey said. John Dewey was an atheist. He hated God. He hated America. John Dewey wanted colleges not really to study the trivium and critical thought, but really just to be essentially trade schools to make compliant little worker bees, which is what public education has done. Moms and dads, even more than a money-making trade, we need to be teaching our kids to think. Honestly, the calling of every human being, what is that? To know the Lord. That's true, right? But honestly, to pursue truth, to seek truth, as the book of Proverbs says, seek truth like you'd be seeking the finest gold. Why? Because if a person is committed to truth, they will ultimately find the one who is truth personified, Jesus, John 14:6. And if they seek truth, they'll find God and they'll become godly. That is life's highest aspiration. You know, this is the program from our recent Truth for a New Generation event in Tennessee, Truth Matters. And you know, the beautiful thing about it, when we do these conferences all around America, teenagers come and they soak it up like a sponge. It's funny, I stayed 3 hours after the conference was over just talking to middle school and high schoolers because they want to know about the Lord. They want to know about reality, morals, and truth, and they want to know about America. Folks, we can do this, but it's got to begin in the hearts and the homes of Christian families. So stand for truth. Lose at anything else, but win with your family, beginning in what they learn and are taught.
This is John. He's 21. He's never met Jesus. It's possible he never will. He never went to church. His mom doesn't trust them. How do you change his future? So let's find his public school and establish a Bible club down the hall. There, someone introduces him to Jesus, who takes his life in a new direction. John's so excited, he tells his friends. One of them comes to Christ, and it all began in a public school Good News Club.
Oh, the Lord is doing so many great things through Alex McFarland Ministries and Truth for a New Generation. Our viral truth clubs are growing. Young people getting clubs together and they're learning leadership skills and they're teaching their friends about the biblical worldview. You know, we just had a conference in Tennessee, Truth for a New Generation. We've got 2 more conferences planned for 2023. So if you would, please, I'm going to ask you to do a couple of favors. Go to my website, which is alexmcfarland.com. alexmcfarland.com. You'll see my tour schedule. You can give securely online, or you may mail a donation, and I would ask that you would help us. We've got to reprint our New Believers book because we're giving away so many of these things. We need so many things that you can help underwrite that are evangelizing young people, bringing truth and restoration to our nation. If you would mail a contribution to Alex McFarland Ministries, P.O. Box 485, Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, 27313. That's P.O. Box 485, Pleasant Garden, North Carolina, 27313. And also, if you want to hear about how you can organize and help save America, come to the Cove, July 7 through 9, the Billy Graham Training Center in Western North Carolina. I'd love to meet you at the Cove. I'll be there. You can go to their website, thecove.org. Put my name in the space bar. We'd love to see you there. Folks, together, we're going to stand strong for truth.